Right now, as you watch this, there is a voice in your head telling you that happiness comes from getting what you want, that success means accumulating more, that peace arrives when everything finally goes your way. But what if I told you that voice has been lying to you your entire life? Here is the devastating truth that will shatter everything you believe about happiness. The very pursuit of external validation and material success is the prison that is keeping you trapped in endless cycles of disappointment and anxiety. What you are about to discover changed the course of human history, transformed slaves into philosophers, and turned a Roman emperor into one of the wisest men who ever lived. This isn't just ancient wisdom, Faye. It is a psychological framework so powerful that modern therapy is built on its foundations. Picture this. You are standing on the deck of your ship, watching your entire life's work disappear beneath the waves. Every coin you've earned, every deal you've closed, every possession that defined your worth, Faye, gone in minutes. The salt water burns your eyes, but not as much as the realization that you've lost everything. This was Zeno's reality in 300 BC. A wealthy merchant whose ship sank off the coast of Cyprus, taking his fortune with it. Most people would have been destroyed by such a catastrophe. They would have raged against the gods, mourned their losses, or fallen into despair. But Zeno did something remarkable, something that would echo through the centuries, and influence everyone from slaves to emperors, from ancient Rome to modern psychology. He smiled, not because he was happy about losing everything, Faye, but because he realized something profound. The moment you stop needing external things to define your worth is the moment you become truly free. In that shipwreck, Stoicism was born. Here is what is really happening while you chase your next promotion, your next purchase, your next relationship milestone. You are handing over your emotional well-being to forces completely outside your control. Think about the last time you felt genuinely upset. I am willing to bet it wasn't because something bad happened. Faye, it was because something unexpected happened. We don't cry when it rains because we've learned to expect rain. We don't panic when winter comes because we know it is temporary. But when our boss passes us over for promotion, when our relationship ends, when our investment loses money, Faye, we fall apart. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that our happiness depends on outcomes we can't control. The most insidious part, this conditioning is everywhere. Every advertisement tells you that happiness is one purchase away. Every social media post suggests that success is measured in likes, followers, and lifestyle photos. Every conversation with friends becomes a subtle competition of who is doing better. You are living in a system designed to keep you perpetually dissatisfied, always reaching for the next thing that will finally make you feel complete. And the most terrifying part, most people never realize they're trapped. Let me tell you about 4 individuals who discovered what Zeno learned in that shipwreck, Faye, and how it transformed their lives completely. First, there was Epictetus. Born into slavery, his name literally meant acquired, Faye, like a piece of property. He couldn't control his circumstances, couldn't change his status, couldn't even control his own body. Yet he became one of history's most influential philosophers. How? By focusing entirely on what he could control, his thoughts, his reactions, his character. While his body was enslaved, his mind remained completely free. Then there was Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest and most powerful statesmen. Unlike Epictetus, he had everything: fame, money, influence, luxury. Yet he chose to practice voluntary discomfort, sleeping on floors, taking cold baths, eating simple meals. He understood that true strength comes from knowing you can be happy with nothing. Marcus Aurelius took it even further. As Roman emperor, he was literally the most powerful person on earth. He could have had anything, done anything, commanded anyone. Instead, he spent his time writing personal reflections on how to remain humble, how to serve others, how to find peace regardless of external circumstances. And then there is a modern example that will blow your mind: Nelson Mandela. After 27 years in prison for fighting apartheid, he was finally released. Everyone expected him to seek revenge, to punish those who had wronged him. Instead, he chose reconciliation. He had discovered what these ancient philosophers knew: hatred and revenge only poison the person holding on to them. Stop. Read that again. Your emotions aren't random chemical reactions. Faye, they're information. But most people are reading the data completely wrong. You think you are sad because bad things happen to you. But here is what is actually happening. You are sad because unexpected things happen to you. You think you are anxious because the future is uncertain. But the real source of your anxiety is the gap between your expectations and reality. This is why Stoics practice something called premeditatio malorum, Faye, imagining the worst case scenario, not to be pessimistic, but to build emotional resilience. When you've already mentally prepared for failure, disappointment, or loss, these experiences lose their power to devastate you. Think about it. The person who has never experienced hardship crumbles at the first sign of difficulty. But someone who has been through real struggle, they know they can survive anything. The goal isn't to become emotionless Faye, it is to become emotionally intelligent. Here's where this gets practical. Stoics developed exercises Faye, not just mental concepts, but actual practices you can implement today. Voluntary discomfort is one of the most powerful. Sleep on the floor once a week. Take cold showers. Eat simple meals. Walk instead of driving, not as punishment, but as training. You are teaching your brain that you can be content with less, that comfort is not a requirement for happiness. But there is an even more transformative practice, the dichotomy of control. Every situation you encounter, every problem you face, every emotion you feel Faye, immediately categorize it into two buckets: things you can control and things you cannot control. Your boss's decision about your promotion, cannot control. Your effort on the project that led to the promotion, consideration, can control. Your partner's mood when they come home from work, cannot control. How you respond to their mood, can control. The weather during your wedding, cannot control. Your attitude about the weather, can control. This single practice will revolutionize how you experience life. We live in the most privileged time in human history, yet anxiety and depression rates are skyrocketing. Why? Because we've created a culture that measures worth by external metrics that are largely outside our control. Your Instagram followers, your salary, your relationship status, your physical appearance, even your children's achievements. Faye, these have become the scorecards by which we judge our lives. But here's the problem. You don't control most of these outcomes. You can create great content, but you don't control the algorithm. You can work harder than anyone, but you don't control your boss's decision-making process. You can be an amazing parent, but you don't control your children's choices. You can eat perfectly and exercise daily, but you don't control genetics or accidents. When you tie your self-worth to things outside your control, you are guaranteeing your own misery. Modern Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionally numb. It is about becoming strategically detached from outcomes, while remaining fully engaged in effort. It is about finding joy in the process, rather than the results. It is about building an unshakable foundation of self-worth that no external circumstance can touch. Ancient Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues that, when practiced consistently, create an undefeatable character. These aren't abstract concepts, Faye, they're practical frameworks for daily decision-making. Wisdom is the ability to distinguish between what you can and cannot control, and to choose your responses consciously, rather than reactively. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, put it perfectly. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Courage isn't about being fearless. Faye, it is about acting despite fear. It is persistence in the face of obstacles and resistance to temptations that would compromise your values. 2 words capture this perfectly: persist and resist. Temperance is moderation in all things. It is the recognition that enough is enough, that more isn't always better. While billionaires compete to see who can accumulate the most wealth, Stoics understand that the richest person isn't the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. Justice might be the most important virtue of all. It is the understanding that we're all interconnected, that harming others ultimately harms ourselves, that true success comes from lifting others up rather than stepping on them. We're living through unprecedented times of uncertainty and change. The old promises, Faye, work hard, follow the rules, and you'll be rewarded, Faye, are breaking down. Job security is disappearing, relationships are more fragile, the future feels less predictable than ever. In this environment, external sources of security and meaning are proving unreliable. The people who thrive will be those who've learned to find security and meaning internally, the ones who've built their sense of worth on things they can actually control. This isn't just about personal happiness, Faye, it is about survival in an uncertain world. Think about the people you know who seem genuinely content regardless of their circumstances. They're not the ones with the most money, or the biggest houses, or the most impressive achievements. They're the ones who've learned to find satisfaction in effort rather than outcomes, in character rather than possessions, in relationships rather than achievements. Here is how you start building this unshakable foundation today. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you start your day, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What am I trying to control today that is actually outside my control? 2. What is within my control that I've been neglecting? 3. How can I focus on effort and character rather than outcomes and achievements? Throughout the day, practice the dichotomy of control. When something upsets you, immediately ask, Is this something I can control or cannot control? If you cannot control it, practice acceptance. If you can control it, take action. Start small with voluntary discomfort. Skip that morning coffee once a week. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Choose the smaller portion. Walk in the rain without an umbrella. You are not punishing yourself, Faye. You are training your mind to find contentment regardless of external conditions. Most importantly, redefine success. Instead of measuring your worth by external achievements, measure it by internal growth. Did you respond with patience instead of anger? Did you choose courage over comfort? Did you act with integrity even when no one was watching? Here is the ultimate test of Stoic practice. Can you be genuinely happy for someone else's success without comparing it to your own situation? Can you face failure without your self-worth crumbling? Can you experience loss without being destroyed by it? If you can answer yes to these questions, you've achieved something more valuable than any external success. You've become undefeatable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because you've learned that your worth isn't determined by what happens to you, Faye. It is determined by how you respond to what happens to you. The person who needs nothing external for their happiness has everything they could ever want. Right now, you have a choice. You can continue living at the mercy of external circumstances, riding the emotional roller coaster of wins and losses, successes and failures, approvals and rejections. You can keep handing over your peace of mind to forces outside your control, or you can choose freedom. Real freedom. The kind that can't be taken away by market crashes or relationship endings or career setbacks or health challenges. This choice isn't just about philosophy. Faye, it is about how you want to experience every single day of your life. Do you want to wake up anxious about things you can't control, or peaceful about things you can? Do you want your mood determined by external events or internal values? The ship is going to sink sometimes. The storm is going to come. The question is, will you be ready? The Stoics understood something that most people never learn. True security doesn't come from controlling your environment, Faye. It comes from knowing you can handle whatever your environment throws at you. True happiness doesn't come from getting what you want, Faye. It comes from wanting what you have. True strength doesn't come from never falling, Faye. It comes from always getting back up. This isn't just ancient wisdom. This is the foundation of every therapy that actually works. The secret behind every person who seems genuinely content. The difference between those who thrive in uncertainty and those who crumble. The choice is yours. The power has always been yours. The only question is, what are you going to do with it? Remember, everything has an end. Your problems, your successes, your relationships, your life itself. But if you've lived with virtue, if you've focused on what you could control, if you've built your character rather than just your resume, Faye, then when the end comes, you can face it with the quiet confidence of someone who lived well. That is not just philosophy. That is freedom. That is strength. That is what it means to become truly undefeatable.